All right, good morning, start of a new year. It is early March, Northern Illinois. I am my second day fishing. I fished about a week ago on this same lake. I haven't been to this lake in a number of years, but what I do know about it is it had some decent bass. I'm not sure about the numbers. Maybe we'll figure that out this spring. I'm not sure about the numbers in this lake, but we're gonna work this lake a little bit over the next month up into spawn, little pre-spawn, see if we can't find these big fish shallow. This lake has a depth of, max depth of 25, but about half of the lake is 5 feet and less. So that's a really big area that I think the fish are gonna move into that I don't know much about, that we're gonna have to cover. There's a very slight break line at 4 feet, a very slight break line at 6 feet, and a main break line around 10. I worked the 10-foot break line really thoroughly last week. It was a pretty cold day. Water temp was 43, finished the day around 45. So today we're going to be focused on that 6-foot break line, and actually probably going to spend a lot of time on the 4-foot break line just to learn the shallower areas of the lake, because that's probably where the fish are going to move to. The watercolor here is last week it was only about 1.5 feet. Today it looks a lot clearer, maybe 2 feet. But those fish, if it stays about 2 feet clarity up into spring, those fish are going to get up pretty shallow. Water temp looks like is starting the day at 45, should get a little warmer, but I don't expect a lot of movement today. I don't expect to catch many fish, if any. I'm here to learn, but I do want to cover ground in case the fish are going. So I'm going to start with A-rigs. I know there's shad in the lake. I want to cover ground. I'm going to start with the A-rig. Our 2 A-rigs, you see my 2 dummy rigs, and I have on this particular Yum Flash, I have 3 1/8 ounce swim baits, but I also have a more finessey A-rig with no blades on it, and again 2 dummy rigs and 3 1/16 ounce. So between these two, I'm going to cover a lot of ground. So one of the things I mentioned is, especially in the spring when you're really trying to assess what depth the bass are in, and a lake that you don't know that much or you haven't fished in the spring much before, a lot of times I'm going to target the shorelines that are a little tighter. By that I mean, right now I'm holding in about 8 feet, 10 feet is right behind me, but I can almost cast to the shoreline here. And this is the only area in this lake for about maybe 100 yards at the most that I can cover multiple depths by holding the boat. In 8 feet I can get up into about 1 foot, but also be really close to the deep water. The rest of the lake, the shallows really spread out, and this is the area where we had 2 bites the other day. So we're just gonna fish this a little bit, and then we're gonna start moving in to those wider flats. For those of you that don't throw A-rigs very much here in the Midwest, I just started throwing them last year. Resisted them for a while, but it's especially on lakes, for whatever reason, on lakes that hold shad, the A-rig is really a valuable tool, and really not that big a deal to throw. This Yum Junior Flash Mob is my go-to. Again, I put 2 dummy rigs on top, and sometimes I'll do a little bit different color bait on the center or highlight the tail a little bit. And I throw it on fluorocarbon. I throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. So I'm gonna reel the rig real slow and try and feel bottom a little bit, and just pick up my pace from there. Sometimes I might even stop just like that and make sure it's near bottom and I can see it fall to the bottom, and I see slack in my line and it'll slip back up. But you do have to be careful with most casting tools. to stay near bottom, if that's what you're meant to do. One of the biggest mistakes there's a muskie. Somebody put muskie in here a few years ago, and I had a big one on last week, and here's another one. Oh man, what a pain. Let's see if I can get him on camera. He's not as big as the other one. Man, how many muskies they put in here. If he doesn't break me off, it looks like the line is wrapped around the outside of his mouth. We should be able to get him. Oh yeah, the line's outside his mouth. This will be the tricky part. Okay. Well, A-rigs are even effective for muskie. Really beautiful. Really healthy looking. All right, well, interesting way to start our morning. It's a little frustrating to have those fish in here because I do think they change the behavior of the largemouth. So it's something that I have to adjust for now that I'm getting a sense that there may be more than just a couple of these things in here. I've ran into, that's the second one I've had on in 2 days. So I think that those largemouth may be just slightly shallower. But typically on a lake that has largemouth and muskie, the bass tend to be set up much shallower. I think I have another muskie on. Carp. I think it's a carp. Okay, we've come full circle today. It's late afternoon, and we executed our game plan today. We covered a lot of ground in 4 to 6 feet of water. I found a couple really interesting areas, 3 areas with really nice weeds that may hold some of the fish as they move shallow. So I feel a lot more confident about the shallower water in the lake. No bites. I think we had a follow from what looked like a bass. Caught the muskie, caught a carp. And we're just going to finish up the day now on a couple key spots that I have caught fish on in the summer. A couple little deeper spots just to check them. And we'll just keep coming back as the weather gets better. Hopefully we'll be able to capitalize on what we learned today.